Your primetime news with Israel Lai.
Welcome to your primetime news bulletin here on Joy News. My name is Israel Lai. In the headlines, there are reports of a conspiracy to plunge the country into darkness during vote counting on Friday by the Volta River Authority, and its sister utility companies have assured all load shedding will be suspended from this Wednesday until the election results are declared. We'll touch base with the campaigns of the various political parties, including the NDC, MPP, CPP, and PPP, which is unhappy about the amount of coverage it is enjoying from the media. A group calling itself Young Educators is out to correct what it says is the misconception that the 3 regions in the north enjoy free education. Also in the bulletin is various opinion polls predict the victory of one party over another in this election. The Center for Democratic Development is cautioning the public to be wary of tools that come wrapped as scientific polls. In business, the president at a meeting with labor representatives has promised to fast-track the migration of the 10 remaining institutions onto the single spine salary structure. In international news, the Queen of England may soon have a great-grandchild, courtesy the Duchess of Cambridge. All that and more, plus sports coming up in a moment. Now, in our very first story, the Commonwealth Observer Group for Friday's presidential and parliamentary elections has arrived in Ghana. The 250-member team would have representatives from the different West African countries. The observers are also expected to meet with political party leaders and other stakeholders in the country to ensure a peaceful environment for the conduct of the polls. The observers would have Accra as the headquarters and situation room for the mission, with 3 substations in Kumasi, Tamale and Bolgatanga. The regional observers would be deployed to all the 10 administrative regions of Ghana to monitor the conduct of the presidential and legislative elections. The elections in Ghana follow the successful polls in Sierra Leone, which were also observed by ECOWAS. The sub-region seeks, through the election observation missions, to promote a culture of transparent and credible elections consistent with best practices for the enhancement of good governance, regional peace and stability. Now we're staying with the elections, and the 3 utility companies have assured uninterrupted power supply from this Wednesday, the 5th of December, all through Friday until after the results for the elections are declared. The assurance coincides with reports of a conspiracy that some persons plan to plunge the whole country into darkness during vote counting so they could carry out their own machinations. The assurance is contained in a communique signed under the auspices of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. Now, VRA, for instance, says it has gone the extra mile to ensure enough power is available. I'm joined in the studio now by the VRA's head of corporate communications, his Sam Fletcher. Good evening to you, Mr. Fletcher, and thank you very much for making time to join us. Now, tell us, what exactly is this promise that you're putting out, or this assurance, and how do you intend to carry that out?
I think it's a major concern for both you and me, for all of us, that we've had this current situation, we've had it since the end of August, but going into election, it even becomes more important and crucial, critical, because Ghanaians would want to know that the days leading to election day and the days after, we stay in constant light, if you like. I think we've had to take some very great steps, and these steps are, one would say, we're stretching things, but we have to. We're stretching in the sense that we have to even go further to import power, for example, from La Côte d'Ivoire.
Tell us about it.
So we're getting, I mean, as I speak to you today, a team is arriving tonight from La Côte d'Ivoire, where they had discussions on making sure we have about 100 megawatts of power, you know, to support what we have now. Now, that 100 megawatts of power is going to come at a great cost, because Ivory Coast will actually have to run on diesel to be able to give us 100 megawatts. But besides that, we've also spoken to we've had discussions with the mining companies, for example, to give us some relief. So they have agreed to give us about 30 megawatts of power. Valco currently is relieving 35 megawatts of power, and also the power that we give to Togo and Benin is about 40 megawatts. We have had discussions with them, and we're getting 30 back. We couldn't get the 40 because you need some power to run on the line for technical reasons. So all these together, okay, go ahead.
But this all that you've talked about has to do with the generation side.
Yes.
And that suggests that the problem we're having has to do with generation, or a shortfall in generation, which is just part of the problem. There are problems with distribution.
Yeah.
How is that answered? Is that contained in this communique?
It is contained in that communique, but it's best answered by ECG. But let me give you a general overview of how it looks like. Power can be available. It can be transmitted by Gridco, but if there's a failure in a distribution equipment, then there is that possibility that there will be an outage. And I think what ECG has done, and what the rest of the utilities are doing, is that they're going to make sure that hitherto even sites or stations that are not manned by human beings, they're going to put people there to man them. That will mean that they'll be able to respond swiftly to any outage at any time. I think for us the goal is to make sure that going forward, I mean from Wednesday, even possibly tomorrow, there will be constant power, no matter what, till about the 10th of December, where, I mean, we would have had enough room to count the votes and everything. And that also means that the power utilities would have to suspend regular maintenance work. If it's an emergency, that's a different thing. But all regular maintenance work will be suspended just to make sure that the power stays stable for the election period.
So we're expecting to have an uninterrupted supply of electricity during the period. And I'm sure people will be wondering, if you're able to do that, then they'll be asking themselves, why can't you do that?
No, you
all the time?
You can't, because like I said, now we're taking from the mining companies. You know they need it. I mean, everybody in the interest of the election.
You're sparing no expense to make sure that we have electricity.
That's what we're doing.
Why can't you do that all the time?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that, see, for example, we can't continue suspending regular maintenance. I mean, if you do that, you risk, you know, the whole country going to darkness because one machine or the other is going to break down. So, but for the period, we can afford to suspend regular maintenance. But just after that, we need to do this. We need to maintain the machine. I'm sure you understand that when a machine is due for maintenance and you don't do it, you're not doing anybody.
Well, that just happens once in a while. But anyway, thank you very much, and we'll be looking for it, or we're counting on this promise that you've made to us, that there's going to be uninterrupted power supply throughout this period. You're saying from Wednesday all through until like about 10th, when the election results are declared or announced. Thank you very much. And we're hoping that whatever they're able to do during this election period, they can sustain it after the election. So we just heard from the head of corporate communications at VRA, Sam Fletcher. Now in other news, the Greater Accra Region Police have established its media center at the National Police Training School, Tesano, where journalists can verify information gathered on election security related issues. This was announced in a news release signed by the Accra Regional Police Public Affairs Officer DSP Freeman Tete on Monday.
The police say the arrangement is to serve as a one-stop shop for reporters to have regular briefings and inquire from the regional commander, who is the chief spokesperson on all elections-related security issues in the region. This forms part of the Ghana Police Service design measures to ensure its efficiency in the elections and ensure fairness and a safe environment for all. The following numbers have been dedicated at the Center for all enquiries: 0299 201 368, 0208 848 629, 026 606 0199, and 0299 201 271. Reporters have also been advised against attempt to seek interview from police on the field on security details.
Now, President Mahama is wrapping up his campaign of the Greater Accra region. He's been to Adan, Ningo and Ashaman. Let's find out more from my colleague Gifty Ando Apia, who is with the president, to tell us more. Good evening to you. What has the president been up to and what's he been saying?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, good evening, Israel. The president moved early this morning after he had a quick assignment out of Castle. First, he met with the representatives of the Labour Front, and they were talking, of course, about single spike salary, which has been quite an issue. He's been giving them assurances, government commitment on working it out. He also, after he met with those representatives, he moved from there and he's been on a tour. He first went to Ada and then went to Goy and to Ashaiman and to Ningo. Right now, we're leaving Ningo, we're headed towards Pampram. And all along, he's been addressing rallies upon rallies and telling the people his message. Indeed, the message has been quite repetitive, but then he's been assuring each of the constituencies that he visits, depending on their special cases, government commitment on what they intend to do for them. Israel.
All right, thank you very much. That was Gifty Ando Apia, and she's traveling with the president on his final wrap-up of his campaign in the Greater Accra region. Also, the Convention People's Party is furious about what it says is the defacing of its posters and molestation of its members across the country. Flag bearer Dr. Abu Sakara has warned it will not tolerate such acts, adding that the CPP has an equal right to campaign.
The news conference was to reaffirm the CPP's commitment to fulfilling its political promises when elected into power this December. The flag bearer cited instances where he says their members, seen in T-shirts, were beaten especially in the Volta, Western and Central regions, and called on other political parties to live the peace they preach.
There has been a repeated pattern in the Volta region, in Western and Central, where our people are being harassed. Now, in the beginning, we took it that, well, this shows that we are making progress because nobody is going to harass anybody who is harmless. But it reaches a point where that tolerance has to be restrained, and we have to consider the safety of our people, and we have to speak out about it.
Dr. Abu Sakara is, however, confident the CPP will make a strong showing. He says, unlike the other parties crisscrossing the country and holding rallies to address their followers, the CPP believes door-to-door and community visits are the most effective way to reach the electorate, especially because of the party's current financial standing.
You are not going to get any sense out of any message in a gargantuan rally. What will they ask you? We dance a little, do a little azonto, and then we go home. What message has gone down? But in face-to-face discussions, you can use their own experience over the last 20 years to relay back to them why they need to make an informed decision this time. This has been the task that we have been about.
The party aims at increasing its representation in Parliament and also capture power this year.
The PPP isn't happy about the amount of coverage it is getting in the media and is asking for as much attention as it's giving the two major parties. At a news conference today, its running mate Eva Loko described as old-fashioned the current arrangement where the NDC and MPP are giving all the attention.
Eva Loko said it was time the media changed their ways in line with emerging trends. Citing the kind of organization she says the party has been able to build in the last few months since its establishment, she said the PPP deserved better treatment.
You open the pages and all you see are pictures and events of two parties. If you believe that a particular political party is not doing well, showcase it. But don't delete it and just present two parties as if they're the only parties competing in this election. It tends to give the voters the wrong impression. So they start thinking that their party is not involved in these elections. We've had the IEA which has presented only 4 parties. And a lot of people started thinking that the other parties are no longer in the race and that they don't have to bother. I think this is unfair, it is prejudicial, and it doesn't help our multi-party democracy.
She emphasized the role of the media cannot be underestimated.
Hopefully, starting from today, you report everything that happens to every party. Be it good, be it bad. So long as it's the truth, just tell it. Don't flavor it, don't garnish it, don't turn it upside down, just tell the plain truth. The media is the only tool that can really deliver truth to the whole of Ghana. It is a very good job. It is honorable.
Eva Loko asked the electorate to embrace the policies of the PPP and help make it happen by giving the party the mandate on Friday.
The National Democratic Congress says their party would continue to hold its peace and ensure peaceful elections. General Secretary Johnson Ketia said the party is happy with the conduct of its supporters so far. Our Ashanti regional correspondent Mahmoud Nuruddin filed this report.
Before the press conference, the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress visited the victims of the Menchia clashes at the Okomfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital. The 2 victims are currently at the Accident Emergency Unit of the Okomfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, responding to medical treatment. Esiedun Ketia said the NDC embarked on a fact-finding mission to ascertain what happened.
Based on what we have seen, and then just oppose it with the media reports that we have had already, and then if we have a word or two by way of advice to our followers, and indeed the followers of other political parties who are interested in peaceful and violent-free elections.
He said the inability of the MPP presidential candidate to withdraw all the die be die mantra and utterances of some officials of the party constituted the building blocks for the party to perpetrate violence. He added the party is happy about the conduct of its supporters so far, adding they will continue to hold their peace but called on the law enforcement agencies to be up and doing. The General Secretary also commended Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II for his efforts towards maintaining peace in the country, but expressed worry over the Menchia incident. He advised the media to double-check their facts before putting it in the public domain.
You're watching the Primetime News here on Joy News. My name is Israelai. We'll be back after this break. MPP presidential candidate Rebecca Akufo-Addo has presented items worth 11,000 Ghana cedis to the Ghana Federation of Disabled to assist them in their various occupations. She made the presentation today when she paid a visit to persons with disability in Accra.
Today is International Day of People with Disability, and the MPP joined the Ghana Federation of Disabled to celebrate the day. They did not come with empty hands, but with sewing and knitting machines, hair dryers, as well as carpentry tools such as hacksaws, hammers, tape measures, gloves, and goggles. Making the presentation on behalf of the MPP, Rebecca Akufo-Addo assured persons with disability that Nana Akufo-Addo's government would have a better place for them and encouraged them to vote for him massively come December 7.
Nana Akufo-Addo, sani ayaka no, na drafty bill no, disability bill no. Anna is the first to employ a disabled person in the Attorney General's department. Into Oyobia Audrey Muhu was started at into Mumanu opportunity no, obedi president obeye enyamapa amamu wo kromha mudana kuma super pa oweniama bebrea onya opportunity obeye amamu.
President of the Federation, Joseph Edu Boampong, lamented on the non-implementation of the Disability Act 715, which was passed in 2006. According to him, this is making life difficult for people with disability. Mr. Edu Boampong was critical of the MPP's manifesto, which he says is unfriendly to the disabled.
Person with disability can no longer be kept at the peripheral to receive cramps. How will the MPP involve persons with disability in government? There are 17 MPs with disability in South Africa, and 5 ministers with disability who are present at the EBI conference in Durban. The disability community in Ghana has expected the NPP to factor some of these in its manifesto and to mainstream disability issues in the 2012 presidential campaign.
In response, Chairman of the MPP, Jacob Echebilamte, assured them that the MPP government would be involved in affirmative action designed to make persons with disability more productive.
Because from the very beginning, Nana Addo said that he did not want to produce a manifesto that was just a whole list of promises. What he was trying to do was actually to come out with a series of programs. The most critical thing that will show our real intention will be, as soon as we come into office, get the LI and to implement the act.
The Ghana Federation of Disabled, made up of 7 member organizations, insists it is non-partisan and would only seek the well-being of its members.
Well, the MPP flag bearer Nana Akufo-Addo is moving on with his campaign after the accident at a rally in Kumasi over the weekend. Nana Akufo-Addo fell shortly after the stage he was speaking on gave way. The MPP presidential candidate said although he took a fall as a result of the collapse, and there you can see the visuals there, he is feeling just fine, and he has been given a clean bill of health by fellow MPP stalwart and medical practitioner Dr. Addo Kufuor. The party also says it does not suspect any foul play. Joining us is Benjamin Tete, is traveling with the MPP flag bearer and joins us with the very latest on his campaign. Good evening, Ben. What's the latest news on the accident, or the campaign team has put it all behind them?
Good evening, Israel. Nana Akufo-Addo and his team earlier today addressed a regional rally in Koforidua. This is one of the largest rallies Israel or the largest crowd I've seen again after those in Kumasi and Tamale. The eastern region, we must know, of course, is the home region of Nana Akufo-Addo. This is a region that gave him 57% votes in the last election. This is also the region that had one of the highest numbers of members of 19 out of the 27 constituencies, as he won them. And so his presence here was also to put the party's stance in the election. They are asking that the party should increase their turnout or the result of here up to 70%. That is quite an uphill task, considering that he currently asking for 7. But that's the challenge he has to look for. As he finished from the rally ground in Koforidua, we drove all the way to Sumu. Here in Sumu, he is going to address another rally. And this rally, it's amazing. I didn't know it, since it's a regional rally. I thought that would be all in Koforidua. But what we've seen here, we're driving through a whole lot of people. Just like we went to pay homage to the paramount chief of Suhum, who an endorsement to Nana Addo. In fact, he declared that after the December 7th election, he is going to pop champ with Nana Addo Akufo-Addo after his victory. And he is asking them us. He says he knows that they have been voting for the NPP anyway, but he's asking them with the margin. This is the word of the paramount chief of Suhum. So as I speak, we are driving to the rally ground here in Suhum, where Nana Addo will address the crowd before we retire for the night.
All right, thank you very much. You heard Benjamin Tete, our Joy News correspondent, and he's with the Nana Akufo-Addo campaign team. Now, the Center for Democratic Development is cautioning the public to be wary of opinion polls, especially in the last few days to the election. Its Public Affairs Director, Theodore Jevler, was reacting to polls published in some of the newspapers today suggesting victory for one party or the other. He says, though polls are generally supposed to give an indication how an election will go, the exercise in Ghana has become a political tool.
The Daily Dispatch newspaper, published by pollster Benefsin, predicts a first-round victory for NDC's John Mahama, whilst another conducted by a US-based polling organization, Geolink Partners Incorporated, says the NPP's Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will win, though by a small margin. Several other polls have been released in a roundup to the elections, but Theodore Jeble, an election observer and the public affairs officer of the Center for Democratic Development (CDD), explained that since the methodologies used by the pollsters are different and not always issue-based, they are bound to produce different results. He adds that most of the polls are usually conducted in party strongholds, casting doubt about their credibility.
We cannot say they are foolproof if the people who actually are interviewed are not chosen carefully. A political party can decide to undertake a poll, probably visit their strongholds or a few other places, to just do some good PR for their party. And it's all part of campaigning. It may be unrealistic, but they want to project their party, properly.
Election polls over the period have predicted victory for either the NDC or the NPP, with the minority parties such as PPP, CPP, PNC and GCPP aggregated together. But this, Mr. Jeble thinks, is unfair.
That probably is unfair to the smaller parties, because I'm sure they are all in the competition on equal grounds, just like the bigger parties. That's democracy. But realistically, some of them can only improve. Some of them are making their lame foundations that they will improve upon in subsequent elections. He gives even the smaller parties the opportunity to work hard, to burn more energy, go around the country, send their messages across.
Mr. Jeble is also cautioning the media and security agencies to be circumspect in the discharge of their duties.
Media practitioners have been asked to focus on voter education and developmental issues in order to reduce the already aggravated tension because of the upcoming elections. The Media Foundation for West Africa says practitioners will help greatly in maintaining the peace and unity if they would shy away from broadcasting hate and incitement to violence.
This year's election, like previous years, is a test of the country's fledgling democracy and citizens' ability to tolerate divergent opinions and views. The Media Foundation for West Africa and its partners believe, even though Ghana is a shining example of democracy in Africa, a lot more is required, particularly from the media in promoting peaceful debate and fair and equitable coverage of the election. Failure to do so, officials say, could lead to some disturbing scenarios. Sharing his experience of the Rwandan genocide, chairman of the Rwanda High Council of the Press, Patrice Malumba, said hate speech and other comments that could incite violence must not be tolerated on radio.
Media spread fear, rumors and panic by using a kill or be killed frame, and of laying directives about the necessity of killing the Tutsi, as well as instructions on how to do it. Incomplete and inaccurate information leads to panic, anger and anxiety, and leads its recipients to search for further information using personal channels, which of course gives currency to the original information, according to this scholar called McHale.
He outlined some blueprints that the media could follow to help safeguard peace and tranquility.
Media professionalism through training is imperative to instill a sense of ethical value among practitioners. Professional media associations are indispensable in ensuring that practitioners operate according to high levels of ethical standards.
Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Professor Kwame Kakari, called on practitioners to be circumspect and professional in their reportage on Election Day. A legal practitioner and member of the board of the National Media Commission, Akuto Ampao, also called on society not to be deceived in fomenting violence.
The critical functions of parties in the promotion of tolerance, diversity, enlightenment on their programs are for the most part forgotten. This zero-sum approach to politics nurtures and institutionalizes political opportunism, gross hypocrisy, patronage, and a Machiavellian attitude to multi-party democracy.
He also called for the strengthening of the National Media Commission to sanction media organizations found to be engaged in unprofessional reportage and broadcast.
Now, you're a very forward-looking media group, multimedia, and the same media group that gave birth to Multi-TV, with the numerous of choices and options available to you, has launched a new baby. It's not another channel. This time, it's a news bulletin in the local language. It's called Adom Kaseɛ, and it was launched today. And I have with me Abna Yadom. She is the channel coordinator of Adom TV to tell us a bit more about Adom Kaseɛ. So Adom Kaseɛ, I understand, will be the news,
yes, the news
just like we're offering now, but in Chi.
Yeah.
What's so special about it apart from the language?
What is so special about Adom Kaseɛ is that we are not going to do hardcore news. We are going to tackle social issues. For example, if Joy News, for example, will follow politics and the hard way. If I say the hard way, meaning, you know, there's an issue and then you go to the minister in charge of the particular problem, whatever, and then you go and ask about it, you know, you do it in that line. Adom Kaseɛ is different. What we are going to be like the watchdog of our politicians. So, for example, when you take sanitation, there's filth everywhere. So, who is responsible? We have the Ministry of Environment, we have AMA, Accra Metropolitan Agency. So, we tackle the issue of filth and then ask the question, what are they doing?
That's but that would mean you going to
yes,
the politicians anyway.
We will be going to the politicians, but we won't wait for the issue to happen. We will raise the issue.
Okay.
We are going to
set the agenda,
yes,
essentially.
Set the agenda. We are going to be socially responsible towards the citizens of Ghana. So that is what Adom Kaseɛ sets out to do.
What time of day do you have the bulletin run?
It's 6:30 p.m. every day, which we just started today, and it went on well. We've had numerous calls.
What were some of the issues you tackled this evening?
Today we tackled some issues from Takoradi. There's a building at the Takoradi Market Square, and it's almost collapsing.
Oh, really?
So we had, you know, we've set the agenda already because we don't want another disaster happening. Then you see all the politicians and TMA, you know, going around trying to solve the problem. Let's tackle the issue before it happens. So that is what one of the stories that we carried today from Takoradi. And we also tackled another issue from North Kaneshie. We all know North Kaneshie is a residential area, so you don't expect that much filth there, but there is.
Okay.
You know, there is, and so we tackled issues like that on the bulletin.
Okay, so Adom Kaseɛ, and it runs from 6:30
p.m. to 7. It's a 30-minute bulletin.
All right. Thank you very much. Abna Yadom is a channel coordinator for Adom TV. We're taking a break. We'll be back with Now, MTN ordered has been ordered to cease selling new SIM cards following the recent spate of disruptions on the MTN network. The National Communications Authority has directed the mobile operator to, with immediate effect, cease selling any new SIM cards or adding subscribers to the network until further notice. In a release, the NCA says it has had to issue out this directive to MTN because in spite of the numerous engagements, network performance on MTN continues to deteriorate. It added the directive follows several engagements between the regulator and MTN on the issues of quality of service degradation, including call drops, call setup, and network reliability being experienced by MTN customers. Now speaking to Joy Business, Deputy Director in charge of Corporate and Consumer Affairs at the NCA, Malco Zomelo, explained that they engaged MTN over 14 days and made some proposals to the company. MTN, however, says it is engaging and cooperating with the NCA to implement the directive. The mobile operator in a statement is also assuring its customers that it is urgently working to address the network challenges. Second edition of the DHL Global Connectedness Index, GCI, a comprehensive analysis of the state of globalization around the world. The report, drawing on over 1 million data points from 2005 to 2011, concludes that the world today is less globally connected than it was in 2007. It documents how global connectedness, measured by international flows of trade, capital, information, and people, grew robustly from the report's baseline year of 2005 to 2007 and then dropped sharply at the onset of the financial crisis. Despite modest gains since 2009, global connectedness is yet to recapture its pre-crisis peak. While the world as a whole has experienced only a very modest increase in global connectedness from 2010 to 2011, some individual countries had large gains. The countries with the largest increases in their global connectedness sources from 2010 to 2011 are Mozambique, Togo, Ghana, Guinea, and Zambia, all of which are located in sub-Saharan Africa. While this region remains the world's least connected, it averaged the largest connectedness increases from 2010 to 2011. The Netherlands retained its 2010 position as the world's most connected country. Of the top 10 most connected countries in 2011, 9 of them are located in Europe. This is the world's most connected region. Now I bring you some smart investment tips. The Minister of Youth and Sports, Honorable Clement Kofi Humado, says government will review the proposed AFCON 2013 budget submitted by the Ghana Football Association after meetings with the various stakeholders.
There has been several debates on various media platforms on the proposed budget submitted by the FA for consideration ahead of the Cup of Nations to be staged in South Africa. The budget, which had a total expenditure of over $7 million, was heavily criticized by a huge section of the Ghanaian populace, who argued that the figures were simply too much on the high side. With the total sum of $5 million approved for Gabon Equatorial Guinea just under a year ago, the figures were simply outrageous. The FA has on numerous occasions tried to justify the gargantuan budget, but their efforts have barely been appreciated by a large section of the public. According to the Honourable Minister, such an increase after just a year was too much, and that the players and officials needed to cut down on certain allowances.
The budget that was presented by the GFA, there have been a few figures that were beyond what we normally provide, especially the winning bonuses and other, allowances. And I had a meeting with Chief of Staff, and we decided that it should be at the same rates that we had at the Gabon and Equatorial Guinea.
He further added that the nation was bedeviled with a whole lot of challenges that needed a lot of attention, thus the players and officials should show a certain level of patriotism to the state.
They have to be patriotic, they have to be nationalistic, and they have to understand that we need money in other sectors, especially in the lesser-known sports. We need to develop our playing fields. You go to Tamale, and the Tamale stadium, not the new one, the old one, it's almost reduced to a ZZ. Ho is the same thing. You go to Pando, it's the same thing. You go to Bekwai, all those places, we need to improve the stadium, and we need money to do that. So we have to understand.
The Black Stars will be embarking on a trip to the United Arab Emirates for a training camp ahead of the Nations Cup in the next few weeks as they seek to win the Continental Championship for the first time in 31 years.
The International Day for Persons with Disability has been celebrated with a call on the general public to accord the same rights to persons, able-bodied persons, as giving to accord the same rights giving able-bodied persons to persons living with disability.
The United Nations has set aside 3rd of December every year as the International Day for Persons with Disability. This year's event was celebrated with the theme, Removing Barriers to Create an Inclusive and Accessible Society for All. Towards this, the National Council for Persons with Disability, in collaboration with the National Paralympic Committee and the National Sport Authority, marked a day with a peace walk. The aim of the walk was to offer an opportunity for persons with disabilities in Ghana to showcase their desire and commitment towards an inclusive electoral process, and to offer a platform for politicians and political parties in the country to assure Ghanaians of their commitment to a peaceful and inclusive election. The Executive Secretary of the NCPD, Max Varden, implored all and sundry to treat the disabled fairly and to give them a fair access to everything. The national president of the NCPD and formerly the NDC parliamentary candidate for Okaikwe North, Andrew Okakwe, called on government to support the disabled and the less privileged.
It is important that we activate or reactivate our energy, and the Sports Council also reactivate our energy in disabled sports. Talking about the Paralympics, you realize that we had some few setbacks when it comes to disabled sports. And the disabled always had to call on civil society and government. In the last minute, you realize that Professor Mills had to take an emergency action to ensure that our brothers and sisters were able to travel to Latin America to participate in soccer. I only know that the Russian trip was a bit more exciting, but it is very important that as Ghanaians, not only of government but civil society, we must ensure that disabled sport is fully promoted, because there is the energy, there is the talent, there is the ability there to carry out the sports, and people must be empowered to do so.
In a bid to raise funds to support the association's efforts, the general public is being asked to text the letter A to short code 1953 to donate 1 Ghana cedi to the NCPD. This, they believe, would go a long way to support the disabled in the society and the provision of training, job opportunities, and a sense of belonging.
Welcome to the showbiz segment of Your Joy News at 8. My name is Marianne Toure. I'll take you into this exciting story now. Patrons who were at the events haven of the Ghana International Trade Fair Center almost had no space on the dancing floor because the place was so packed as they danced their hearts away to good music during the Joy FM Highlife dance party.
It certainly was a night of good indigenous music, especially for music lovers who probably might be fed up with the usual miming on stage by the current crop of Ghanaian musicians. Felix Owusu started the party with some of his classic tunes which made hits back in the 80s and 90s. When he sang his tune, First Fool, it was obvious that was the audience's favorite as they sang along with him. The Tufuhini of the Akroponic Kiapim, George Darko, highly credited as the originator of Burger Highlife with his track Eko to Brofo, gave the audience more than they could have hoped for. The Okukuseku man, Papa Yankson, backed by the Shatter Band, was right on point. This is the 8-year-old who is full of energy, somehow made his fans fall in love with him all over again. Kwabna Kwabna's hit track, also, just did it for the night. In fact, it was just one hit after the other, and the crowd indeed was captivated. The Joy FM Highlife Dance Party is annually, and many are already looking forward to next year's edition.
And that's it for the showbiz segment of Your Joy News at 8. I'll pass you over to Israelite.
And well, yes, they say that Highlife, some say reggae never dies. I say you never go wrong with good Highlife music. And that's it for the bulletin. My name is Israel Lai. Enjoy your evening.